Good Saturday evening, and welcome to a special live edition of Politics on the Go. I am your host, Sean Abshire. Tonight we have some breaking news. We can project that Donald Trump will win the Missouri and Michigan caucuses that were held today. Donald Trump dominated his closest opponent, Nikki Haley, in these caucuses, taking a majority of the vote and all of the delegates out of those states. I'm going to share my Missouri. Yeah, Trump takes 100% of the vote, 124 votes, and 54 delegates in that state. Let's get to votes. Donald Trump won the Michigan due to there was a caucus and a primary held on Tuesday, the caucus being held today. Donald Trump again dominating in that state, winning all 39 of the delegates coming out of today with 1,575 votes, 97.8% of the vote. In Idaho, those polls should be closing soon, and we should be getting some results out of Idaho. Again, if you're just joining us, Donald Trump today won the Missouri and Michigan caucuses overwhelmingly over his last remaining challenger, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. She has vowed to stay in the race until at least Super Tuesday, where Donald Trump is again expected to dominate all of those primaries and caucuses. Tomorrow, Washington, D.C. will hold its Republican primary, and that is the best chance that Governor Haley has for a potential victory. If she is going to win anywhere, it is going to be in Washington, D.C. Now, let's get to a different screen here. Bear with me a moment while I pull up another screen to show you where we stand in the Republican primary at the moment. As you can see in this map here, every state highlighted in red has gone to Donald Trump, and he has won a vast majority of the delegates that have been up for grabs. At the moment, that is wrong. It's not 224. He sits at 215, and Nikki Haley sits at 24. Again, as I said, if she's going to win anything, it will be D.C. tomorrow when they hold their Republican primaries. That is her best chance. She's lost every other state to date, including her home state of South Carolina. She's struggled to gain any traction in these primary contests. It's been very difficult for the former South Carolina governor. This is now the party of Donald Trump. And if you're not a Donald Trump supporter, you're not going to vote for Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley has struggled to pull any, as you see in Missouri and Michigan, she can't pull any votes. Missouri, Donald Trump pulled 100% of the vote there. And in Michigan, she's trailing badly in that state. Idaho, she's expected to lose it overwhelmingly as well. All of those delegates should go to Donald Trump. In each of the states that have voted or are voting today, they are winner take all, and the delegates, if you achieve 50% plus one of the vote, which Donald Trump has managed to do in Missouri and Michigan. I imagine he'll do the same in Idaho later on this evening. Washington, D.C., as I said, will hold its primary tomorrow, where Nikki Haley is hopefully going to, for her campaign's sake, going to pull out a win. But anyway you look at it, D.C. has very few amount of delegates, and even if she does win, the momentum there won't be much momentum for her coming out of the District of Columbia, not even a state, out of the district. Very few delegates up for grabs. She could add a few more to that 24 that she already has, but it's not likely that she'll gain much more than that. Donald Trump's campaign has projected that he can wrap up the Republican nomination on Super Tuesday, that he can secure the amount of delegates that he needs going forward. If he wraps up the nomination on Tuesday, we are looking at one of the longest general elections in American history between President Joe Biden and the presumptive Republican nominee at this point, Donald Trump. We're going to go ahead and go back to the results of today to go through them again in Missouri and Michigan. And there are out of Missouri, Donald Trump with 924 votes. 54 of the delegates, all of them going to him. Nikki Haley didn't pull anything out of Missouri at all. Michigan, again, as I said, they held their primary on Tuesday. There are the results from that. Nikki Haley did not fare well. She pulled 4 delegates out of there and 12 to Donald Trump. Donald Trump with 68% of the vote and Nikki Haley over 26%, 3% uncommitted. Today, she only received 36 votes, or 2% of the vote, and Donald Trump received 97.8%. In Idaho, we are still waiting for results to come out of there. An estimated 44,000 voters went to caucus today in that state. This is the first time since 2012 that Idaho is holding a Republican caucus. Like I said, there are 32 delegates up for grabs there, and Donald Trump is expected to win all of them. If you hit 50% plus 1 in Missouri and Idaho, you will receive all of the delegates coming out of that state. We are going to keep a close eye on Idaho as we go into the night. That is the last remaining state left to vote. We are going to go to another screen now, where I'm going to show you the contests coming up in the next few days. Is again the delegate count. There are 865 delegates up for grabs on Super Tuesday. This is not cooperating. If you're just joining us, I'm trying to show you the remaining contests coming. Here we go. Nice colored map. Super Tuesday, which is coming up this Tuesday, March 5th. We have a total of 865 delegates that will be up for grabs, including in the states of Alaska, California, Utah, Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Minnesota, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Maine. All those states will vote on Super Tuesday, again with a total of 865 delegates. A lot of those states are winner take all if you receive over 50% of the vote plus 1. For example, in California, where there are 169 delegates, Donald Trump is likely to take all of those. Texas, another state where he could take a vast majority of the delegates. Nikki Haley is going to have I project a very bad night on Tuesday. If she's going to perform well anywhere, it would be up in the Northeast, Vermont, Maine. She performed well in New Hampshire, so it's possible that she performs well in Vermont, Maine, maybe in Massachusetts. Everywhere else is pretty conservative. Donald Trump is likely to win all of them. Most of the polls coming out, all of the polls coming out in recent weeks have given Donald Trump a huge lead, 77% of the vote for him in national polls. Statewide polls, Nikki Haley is trailing 20, 30 points in each of the Super Tuesday states. So Super Tuesday could be a bad night for Nikki Haley. tonight. Today has been a bad day for Nikki Haley. Missouri, she lost terribly. In Michigan, she lost terribly Tuesday, and she's lost terribly tonight. Idaho, I expect her to lose terribly there as well. Moving on a little bit to some news yesterday from Nikki Haley. She appeared on MSNBC's Meet the Press Daily with Kristen Welker, where she was asked if she thought former President Trump, if elected again to the White House, would follow the Constitution. Her answer was, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think that he would do the right thing, but I don't know. Nikki Haley has in recent days been more critical of Donald Trump than she has been this entire campaign, something her campaign probably should have done from the very beginning if she was going to gain any traction at all. But now it's too little too late to be going after the former president, who more or less has the nomination wrapped up and may officially have it wrapped up on Tuesday. Nikki Haley has also been critical of the current president, Joe Biden, saying that both Trump and Biden would be bad for the country and that most of the country wants somebody else, which she is not wrong. A lot of the country does disapprove, the majority of the country disapproves of both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So her argument that America does want another choice is valid. She has said that she would decline an invitation from No Labels to appear on their ticket to run on a unity ticket with a Democrat, saying that that's something she is not interested in. Her rationale for staying in the Republican race right now isn't completely clear to me. She can't win. She can't win the nomination. I discussed on another broadcast that even if something were to happen to Donald Trump, if he's convicted in one of these trials, he is ill and can't continue on something, this Republican Party still is not going to nominate Nikki Haley under any circumstances. This is the party of Donald Trump. If Donald Trump can't continue, they will nominate a Kristi Noem of South Dakota, a Vivek Ramaswamy, somebody of that nature. The old guard of the Republican Party is gone, and Nikki Haley represents the old guard of the Republican Party. The Bushes, the Romneys, the McCains, that wing of the party almost ceases to exist anymore. It is completely Donald Trump's party, with the exception of a few senators, Republican senators in the Senate. But even the Senate is getting close to becoming completely Donald Trump territory. So her rationale for staying in the race isn't clear. She can't win the nomination, period, whether it be through the primaries or at the convention. It's over for Nikki Haley. Her political career is over. She is never going to win another election in her life. She can't win anything in South Carolina. 4 years from now, if she decides to run for the Republican nomination again, I don't see her as the front runner. If anybody were to be the front runner at this point in time in 2028, so early, it would be Governor Ron DeSantis. But Nikki Haley, she has no shot. She has no political future. It is over for her. This is her last ride. Is she enjoying it while it lasts? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe she really does have in her mind that she can win the nomination. If so, she's delusional. She can't win it. We're going to go back now and see if we have any results. The Idaho primaries that are voting today, Idaho caucuses, I'm sorry, that are voting tonight. It doesn't appear that we have any results yet coming out of Idaho. Missouri and Michigan already voted today, and those results I've been showing you throughout the broadcast. In Missouri, Donald Trump took all of the 924 votes that were cast and all 54 of the state's delegates. Michigan as well, same thing. Today's caucuses, he completely dominated. Donald Trump is on his way to becoming the Republican nominee for a third time. With that, I'm going to leave you with this screen for a moment. I'm going to leave you with the Idaho caucus screen there. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
You're going to get out of it. I have to go back to my show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Still following the Idaho results, see if anything has come in there. It doesn't appear that we have anything at the moment. We are still for results coming out of there. We've been covering the Missouri and Michigan results that have come out today. 54 of the delegates went to Donald, and he received all 924 of the votes today. We've been discussing whether or not former Governor Nikki Haley has a chance for the Republican nomination. Simplest answer is no. She can't garner any delegates at this point, or enough delegates to receive the Republican nomination. Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, will be her best chance. She has a chance there tomorrow when those primary voters go to vote. Still waiting on anything to come out of Idaho. Donald Trump is dominating still in the delegate lead, 215 delegates to Nikki Haley's 24. She might pick up a few out of Washington, D.C. tomorrow, but she is likely not going to take anything out of Idaho tonight. That is a winner-take-all state if you receive 50% plus one of the vote. Idaho, a very conservative state that has gone to Donald Trump each time he has ran for the Republican nomination in 2016, last 2020, and it is expected to go to him again tonight. Ryan Binkley, that you see there at the bottom, he suspended campaign and endorsed Donald Trump and is out of the race. So it is officially has been a two-person race between former president and former South Carolina governor and ambassador to the United Nations under the former president of the United States. Let's switch gears here while we wait for Joe to come out and go to a different screen. We'll put this up for temporarily. This is where you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'll leave this up for a minute so you can get a good look at that. We just started the website. It should be live in the next couple of days for anybody that will be interested in that. That will be posted on our Facebook page also. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Let's take a look while we're waiting for anything to come out of Missouri action coming up in November between what is likely to be Donald Trump and Joe Biden. As you can see from this map right now, if the election were to be held today, according to the polls as they stand, Donald Trump would win the presidency. Michigan has been trending red. Pennsylvania, the polls have been showing Donald Trump with leads. Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, as much as by 6 points. There is very little room for error for the current president, for Joe Biden. He has to flip some of these states. He can't lose much. If Donald Trump wins Michigan, out of all of these swing states that we have here, let's get that one back. If Michigan, let's say Michigan is a swing state. It is a swing state. Let's say they are tied. We leave it like that. We take Nevada out of the Trump category. We put it back into the swing states. And there you have it. Donald Trump, with everything as it stands, would have 251 electoral votes. He would only need 9. North Carolina is likely to go to Trump. polls there have suggested that it will. That is usually a red state. Barack Obama did win it, I believe, in his first run in 2008, but a Democrat had it since. In Pennsylvania, the polls have trended towards Trump. Let's, for the sake of the argument, give Biden Pennsylvania, and let's give Biden Wisconsin. That gives him 254 electoral votes. Let's give Michigan to Donald Trump because that is a state that Donald Trump barely won in 2016, but lost pretty substantially in 2020. But Michigan voters, there's a large Muslim American base in Michigan, and those voters are very displeased with the current president over his handling of the Israel-Gaza conflict. So I could very well see the state of Michigan going to Donald Trump in the general election. That would leave Donald Trump only needing 4 more electoral votes. If he were to snag Nevada or Arizona, it's over for the Biden campaign. There are very little wiggle room for the president. There are less swing states this time around than we usually see. Colorado's been a swing state in the past. Iowa's been a swing state in the past. Ohio's been a swing state in the past. Florida's been a swing state in the past. And all of those states, for the most part, are reliably red states now. They have fallen out of the swing state category. Donald Trump won Florida both times that he's ran for president. He lost Georgia in 2020, but won it in 2016. This time around, it looks like Donald Trump is likely to win again in that state. North Carolina, Trump likely to win. So there's very little room for error here for the president. Oops, I'm sorry. There's very little wiggle room for the president if he is going to win the general election in November. If you're just joining us, we've been discussing the Republican Missouri, Michigan, and Idaho caucuses that have been held today, where former President Donald Trump has swept all of those except Idaho, which we have no results for yet. He is expected to win that state, though, decisively, coming up as soon as those results come in. We've been discussing the general election and what a Biden-Trump rematch will look like, and what Joe Biden has to do to win the general election. We are going to leave you with the Idaho results for now. There aren't reporting in yet. As soon as some results start reporting, we will come back on the camera and we will go over those. For now, I will leave you with that and we'll be back momentarily. You're watching Politics on the Go special live stream report covering the Republican 2024 primaries. All right, everybody, we're back momentarily here. We are still waiting for results to come out of Idaho. We don't have any results reporting at the moment. We've been keeping an eye there. We've been showing you the results out of Missouri. Nothing's changed in Missouri. The results are in. They are, but we'll show them to you again if you're just joining us, or you watch this later in the broadcast. Donald Trump won all 54 of the state's delegates, winning all 924 votes cast. Nikki Haley could not pull anything out of the Missouri caucuses. In Michigan, Donald Trump again won that state. He raced on Tuesday. He won the caucuses on today. Nikki Haley only pulled 36 votes, 2% of the vote. Donald Trump with 97% of the vote. On Tuesday, it was a little better for Haley, but not by much. She pulled 26% of the vote. Donald Trump's 68% of the vote. Take a look at delegates. You can see in the corner. Those are the delegates for both parties. Donald Trump dominating with 215. You can see he needs 1,215 to become the nominee. He is exactly 1,000 shy. He could wrap that up on Super Tuesday. According to his campaign, they project that he will wrap it up on Super Tuesday and officially become the Republican nominee. Nikki Haley with 90 or 24 delegates. I bet she would like 94 delegates. Democrats, Joe Biden, 206, uncommitted, 2. Dean Phillips, remember him. He is still in the Democratic primaries running against Joe Biden. The Democratic congressman of Minnesota launched his long shot candidacy last year, and he has not been able to gain any traction at all. He lost. He came in, I believe, even 4th place in Michigan. We'll take a look at that to be certain. He came in, yes, 4th place in Michigan. Marianne Williamson, who, if you'll remember, dropped out of the Democratic nomination and just a couple of weeks ago jumped right back in. She suspended her campaign, then announced that she would continue on in the Democratic nomination. She beat Dean Phillips for 3rd place. Uncommitted beat both of them and picked up 2 delegates. So neither Williamson or Phillips have had success in their long shot bids to replace Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee. Take one more look at Idaho, see if we have anything coming out of there. Keep a close eye on Idaho. Take you to another screen again. We were covering this just a bit ago. Cover it again. We were showing what what Joe Biden needs to do to win the election in November. Trump category and make it a swing state, and we will also take Nevada out and make it a swing state. With this map as it stands, Joe Biden would need 45 more electoral votes, and Donald Trump would only need 251, or 19 rather. He has 251, he needs 19. With this map currently the way it is, Donald Trump only needs one state, Pennsylvania. He wins Pennsylvania, and it's ball game. He's the president again. If Joe Biden manages to win Pennsylvania, Donald Trump will now need to pick up 2 states. He has been leading in Michigan. That is a potential state that he could win. Joe Biden has had trouble in the state because of his reaction to the Gaza-Israel conflict. The state has the largest amount of Muslim American voters in the country. And a lot of them on Tuesday in the Democratic primaries, over 100,000 voters voted for uncommitted. And certainly some of those Arab Americans were part of that. They have voiced their displeasure with Joe Biden and have decided that they may vote third party in the general election, but have said that under no circumstances will Joe Biden receive their votes. So Joe Biden has a Michigan problem. And that state could easily go to Donald Trump, and therefore he would only need one more state, and that state could either be Nevada or Arizona. Nevada Trump has had a bigger lead than he has had in Arizona. Nevada could be the state that pushes him over the edge. And then Donald Trump is president again. But I do not think that this election is going to be, I think that this will be a lot closer than the 2020 election. 2020, Joe Biden won Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada, 302. This time around, I don't think that's going to be the case. Like I said, I think it's going to be much closer. I think Trump peels off Michigan this time around, and it's possible that he pulls Nevada also, which would give him 272, because Georgia is likely to go to Trump as well. He's had a bigger lead in this time around. Joe Biden hasn't had a lead in Georgia at all in any of the polls conducted this year. Obviously, things can change. We are only in March. We have a long ways to go until November. And Donald Trump is still facing 91 criminal indictments. 91 criminal indictments. Most of those trials likely won't happen until after the general election. His attorneys have been successful in postponing and delaying most of them. The only trial that may be heard is the hush money case in New York. That one could be heard before the election. If it is, and he's convicted, it could cause problems amongst independents. But let's be clear, Donald Trump is going to win his base. That is clear. There are some Republicans, South Carolina and New Hampshire are prime examples there, that voted for Nikki Haley, 40% of them. Donald Trump does have a problem within his own party that he is going to need to work on. So there's a lot of time here between now and November going into the general election. A lot of things can happen. This map can look completely different going into the general election in November. It could end up being a repeat of 2020. I just don't see that happening. I see this as being much closer than 2020. I see the third parties playing an active role in this. Bobby Kennedy Jr., to be precise, I think he will play a big role in this in some of the uh, smaller states like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Delaware. Those are states that Bobby Kennedy Jr. has a very good shot of performing very well, potentially taking second place, potentially even winning some of those smaller states. That'll be something to keep an eye on. It's possible that some of these third parties, if they gain enough traction, if Bobby Kennedy can peel off a state or two or three, then nobody gets 270 electoral votes. It gets thrown to the House, and it's a chaotic mess. Lots of things to keep an eye on going into November. Lots of different scenarios that could take place. Joe Biden, right now, though, the reality is he has a problem. He is going to need to work on that. He is going to need to work on persuading independents to come back to him. He is going to need to work on the party also. He's struggling amongst Democrats. My generation, for example, millennials, has soured very much so on the president and has considered voting for Bobby Kennedy. That's a demographic he won handedly in 2020, and he is going to need again. If he does not perform or overperform as well as he did in 2020 with that demographic, or overperform, he is in a lot of trouble. So this could go a lot of ways going into November. It's going to be interesting covering all of this as a political guru and as an American. It's a very fascinating process. Idaho, we still have no results coming out of Idaho. We are going to stay on the air for a little bit longer, wait and see if we get anything out of Idaho. If we don't, we will cover that in a Facebook Live later on this evening once we start getting some of those results in. Until then, we'll take you back one more time to Missouri, where Donald Trump dominated former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley earlier today. More good news for the former president as he ranks up that delegate count to 215. That's going to go up even more after tonight. 39 delegates will be awarded out of Idaho. Idaho is a winner-take-all state if you receive 50% plus one, which Donald Trump is. And we are now getting reporting out of Idaho. We are getting results in. So let's go there. Donald Trump is pulling in 21,151 of the Idaho votes with 84% of the vote. And Nikki Haley pulling in 3,457 votes. Ron DeSantis, even though withdrawn from the race, pulling 329 votes. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie with 58. Tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy with 56. And Ryan Binkley with 27, who suspended his campaign earlier this month. That is 57% of the vote. That's a large chunk of it in. We should get a lot more of it in coming in the next half hour or so. There were about 44,000 votes they expected. They've tallied a majority, over half of them, 19,000 outstanding still. Donald Trump, as I was saying, with Idaho, it's a winner-take-all state if you take over 50% of the vote, and right now Donald Trump is taking 84%. So it is looking very likely that Donald Trump adds 32 more delegates to that count. And we now have a projection. We can now project that Donald Trump has won the Idaho caucuses. Again, we can now project that Donald Trump has won the Republican Idaho caucuses, taking all 32 delegates and 84% of the vote. There are still 19,000 votes to be counted. Nikki Haley is not going to win Idaho. Nikki Haley is not going to crack over 20% in Idaho. Nikki Haley has lost the state of Idaho, adding to her troubles even further, and adding 32 more delegates to Donald Trump's category. 247 delegates now for the former president, well on his way to reaching the 1,215 needed to become the official Republican nominee, which he is likely to do on Tuesday. We are not going to wait for the rest of the vote to come in, since we have the projection of Donald Trump winning the Idaho caucus. We are going to leave it at that for tonight. Tomorrow, we are going to cover the Washington, D.C. Republican primaries that are coming up. Nikki Haley's best shot at winning anything will be there tomorrow night, or tomorrow in Washington. And then on Monday, we have the North Dakota Republican caucuses, where Donald Trump is expected to win there as well. And then Tuesday, we have, of course, Super Tuesday, where a number of states will head to the polls and hopefully get this nomination over with for both sides. It looks like that Donald Trump can wrap it up Tuesday. Joe Biden may be able to wrap it up Tuesday or shortly thereafter. And then on Thursday, we have President Joe Biden's State of the Union address, which we will cover live and give in-depth analysis as soon as it's over. I want to thank you all for watching tonight, this special live edition of Politics on the Go. We have been covering Idaho, Missouri, and Michigan's Republican caucuses. We have just declared Donald Trump the winner of the Idaho caucuses. Donald Trump won Missouri, Michigan earlier today, and well on his way to the Republican nomination. Thank you again for watching this live special report of Politics on the Go. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening.